First step, explore. The water cycle is a water purification and distribution system that has continued for millions of years. It consists of 4 stages: evaporation, condensation, precipitation, and collection. This magnificent system is designed to meet the water needs of plants, animals, and humans. Fascinating facts. Every day, the sun helps evaporate 1 trillion liters of water for living beings. As rainwater seeps into the ground, it collects beneficial minerals like calcium and magnesium. A medium-sized cloud can carry up to 200 tons of water. Water from the Pacific Ocean can fall on our noses as a raindrop. Second step, compare. Did you know that Singapore developed an artificial water cycle to overcome its water shortage? This system purifies sewage water through a 5-stage process and returns it to homes as drinking water. Now, imagine a system capable of cleaning all the dirty water in the world. That is the water cycle system working for millions of years. That cycle in the air is even more incredible than the man-made water cycle on the ground because it is rebuilt every time. Imagine if clouds, like water pipes, were always suspended in the air. How ugly that would be. Third step, question. If you were to find out the Singaporean water recycling system in your house, would you say it just popped up on its own? What about the water cycle that covers the entire planet? Can it happen by itself? Can it be the work of deaf and blind nature? Do you think the sun, wind, and oceans without mind could plan something so perfect for us? Is it just a coincidence that seawater loses its salt when it falls as rain? Does river water acquire minerals by chance? Is it by luck that only 1% of all the water in the world becomes clean drinking water and falls as rain? The Singaporean system is indeed a great invention. The engineers who discovered it should be congratulated. But what about the Earth-sized water cycle that has been running for millions of years? Can that cycle be without a master? Fourth step, connect. The sun, earth, moon, atmosphere, oceans, and gravity work like a team to purify water for us. They have neither mind nor emotion to help us. They need the help of the entire universe. Of course, helpless things cannot help others. Mindless beings cannot make something better than engineers. This means that the maker of the water cycle is the maker of the earth and all that lives on it. Indeed, the one who creates living beings from water must be the one who fulfills their need for water through the miraculous water cycle. What does the water cycle tell us about its maker? My maker is the life giver who creates living beings from simple water. He is all-knowing and all-powerful who creates the water cycle for living beings in connection with the universe. He is the most merciful and the most loving who gives them water for free out of his mercy and love. Fifth step, appreciate. Imagine if your water cycle suddenly stopped. No showers, no clean dishes, no cleaning. Life would become difficult. How about if the God-sustained water cycle became disrupted? Rivers would run dry. Crops would fail without rain, animals and humans would die. Water is a precious gift for all living beings. For the gift of water distributed to us through the water cycle, we should do 1. Dhikr. Remember that only Allah can create water and water cycle. 2. Fikr. Reflect on the wonder of constantly renewing water purification and distribution cycle. 3. Shukr. Wholeheartedly thank Allah for meeting the water needs of countless living beings with the water cycle. Let's hear some character lessons from the water cycle. Purify your soul like evaporating water droplets. Be like clean water with your words and character. Help people in need without discrimination like rain. Let's now listen to the Quran. Have you considered the water you drink? Is it you who bring it down from the clouds, or is it we who do so? If we willed, we could make it salty. Will you not then give thanks? Let's end our journey with a prayer. O Allah, grant us a heart to thank without end for countless water droplets you have sent. This wonderful cycle is a gift from above, a sign of your mercy, kindness, and love.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I hope you're doing well. Inshallah, if you just give a few minutes for a few more people to join, inshallah, then we will start. Okay, I think we're ready to start, inshallah. A'udhu billahi minash shaitani rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Assalatu wassalamu ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi sahbihi ajma'in. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. We're very, very happy to have you all join us, alhamdulillah. So I would just like to give you a warm welcome from our team. And we hope that, inshallah, this is the start of your journey with 5D. So our institute is called the Institute of Integrated Knowledge, and it's based in the US, although we are working around the world. Most of our team members, alhamdulillah, live in many different parts of the world. So we have the founder of the 5D thinking model, Dr. Najati Aydin, who will be our first speaker today, inshallah. We have with us Dr. Sabah Irshad Ansari, who is also a key member of our team. My name is Uzma Ahmed, and I'm responsible for the training side of the 5D thinking. So we have been working for many years, alhamdulillah. Dr. Nijati, with a few other colleagues and professors, has been working on this model for about 10 years, researching the foundational knowledge to understand the problem that we are facing in education today, the problem that not only the Muslim Ummah is facing, but the whole of humanity is facing, the crisis that we are in due to the worldview of secularism. So inshallah, we will be exploring that idea. So this work of the last 10 years has resulted in identification of the core problems, and then identification of the solution, inshallah, one of the solutions to that core problem in the shape of the 5D thinking model. So you may have heard a lot about the 5D thinking model. Alhamdulillah, it's growing. The need for it is growing amongst educators. People are seeing that this way of integration is not only straightforward, but it's very transformative. We've been working around the world with many different schools on many different continents, alhamdulillah. And what we have found is that all the hard work that people have been doing of Islamization or bringing in Islamic education to schools has been something which has been a struggle for most people, because it's something which doesn't provide the solutions that we need to prevent the problems that we are facing, the corrupt ideologies that are amongst us. So as we have gone about our training, we have seen that the alhamdulillah, very good efforts around the world of Islamization have been, our model has been warmly welcomed as a breath of fresh air, because it provides a step-by-step process. And this is one of the feedback that we get from teachers, that they find that this roadmap we give them, the 5 steps to follow, are very simple and clear. And so therefore, it's very easy for them, after they have received the training, to go into their classroom and confidently integrate the Islamic ethics and values into any topic in a way that leads to discovery, rather than in a way that is an imitation or something that is superficial. So that's what we have been doing so far. So we offer teacher training. We do on-site training as well as online training as well. We offer consultancy to schools of how to implement the 5D thinking model. We also have written, alhamdulillah, some books. We have published from kindergarten to grade 3, books called Science Secrets in 5 Steps. And we are in the process of getting the rest of the books published as well, inshallah, up until grade 8. From kindergarten to 8, we have a learning management system where we have uploaded many useful resources with PowerPoints, assessment tools, activities to help educators in applying this 5D thinking model, inshallah. So that's the introduction from me. So we will be having our first session conducted by Dr. Najati Aydin. He will speak, inshallah, for about 45 minutes. After that, there will be a second session explaining an example from our LMS system of how the 5D thinking model works. And then after that, there will be an opportunity for you to ask any question, inshallah. So do write your questions down and keep them. And inshallah, the last half an hour will be dedicated to answering your questions and also letting you know how we can help you, inshallah, with the implementation of the 5D thinking and how we can help you move forward, inshallah. So I'd just like to introduce Dr. Najati. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam. Can you hear me well?
Yes, we can hear you, inshallah.
Okay, perfect. Okay. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. So very, very happy to be with you, and thanks to Allah for this great opportunity, inshallah, to engage with some, inshallah, reflection on a problem and a solution, 5D as a solution. So let me share my slides first. Okay, can you see now?
Yeah, it's just starting to share.
Okay.
Yeah, we can see it.
Perfect. Okay, so essentially we're going to talk about 5D thinking model as a way of how it can bring a transformative teaching in discovering the sign of God and developing the sound character. We're going to start with a little brain exercise or thinking or reflection. That's what's like, in a way, I do basically to warm up with the subjects, to get the mind to, engage in the journey of the deep idea. So one of really question that I ask, and I'm really, when as a human who sometimes look around and reflect, so I see that in 21st century, wherever you look at it, whatever you look at it, you see more and more signs of Allah, to the level as if everything is going to be absolutely explicit. Will be no it normally is, again, for the test that you will say that has to be some sort of, let's say, veil to not force everyone to believe. But I feel the signs of Allah getting overwhelming to the level that's as if we are almost forced to believe if we open our eyes. And I think it's really, when you look at it, it's perhaps the science that accessible to us is, is more than ever to the other human being in history. And ironically, that more science is not really bringing more submission to Allah. It's just opposite. The more we see the signs of Allah, and the more it seems like we get away from Allah. And that is true for those who leave the faith and become atheists and agnostic when we look at the data. And unfortunately, that's even true for those who believe in God, because the way they make their choice and live their life, it's as if God really has no relevance. So that is very, in this case, puzzling question. Why more is less? Why the more sign we have, the less we become, let's say, submissive to Allah? That's really a question that I ask, and I think we can have whole discussion on that. But I just want you to reflect on this for a moment. There was a book published, I read it, I think it's like maybe 10 years ago, written by economists saying why more is less. He was referring to the satisfaction with more consumption but less satisfaction. But actually here I'm referring to the sign and submission, with more submission, more signs and less submission. Why is the case? So Al-Quran is very clear when you read that. And, in one ayah, there are many ayah like this. It says, how can you deny it? Bismillah ar-Rahman qalat rasuluhum afi Allahi shakku fa'atu as-samawati wal ard. Can there be doubt? Or in other words, how can you doubt? And if you have a little mind, how can you have a doubt about the maker or the builder of your building? Is there any human being out there doubting their house, their building, their car is made by someone with knowledge, with the power, with consciousness? No one. But then how can you have a doubt about the creator, maker, builder of the entire universe? The more you study, the more you find out, the more you get into the micro level, macro level, the more you see that perhaps micro universes are more elegant than the macro universe. So then how can you have a doubt that there must be a creator? قالت رسولهم أفي الله شك. It says shak here. It's not saying actually denial. Shak is like, how can you have even doubt about it? But we live in a time is not shak, actually is a denial. It's complete denial, it's an atheism or a deism, or is in a form of basically ghafla, heedlessness, in which that we, even if we believe, we become forgetful for him. But can you really deny the existence of the sun? How can you deny that if the sun in the daytime reflecting in everything, everywhere, is shining out there with all its light, and the color you see around you is nothing but the reflection of that? And when you enjoy the heat and warmth of that sun, how can you deny that? And I think that's exactly, it's even shame to talk, to say, we're going to have a session, or let's talk about the sun, and let's really, see how we can explain there is a sun. It's like as if there's denial of the existence of the sun out there. It would be very weird. But actually the existence of Allah is more overwhelming than the existence of the sun. There is nothing more overwhelming and obvious than the signs of Allah around us. Then how can we have a doubt? Either we must be blind, or we must be in full darkness. We must be away from that light. But what is the thing that blinds us? And what is the darkness that prevent us to see the true nature of reality? So I think that's when we really look at it, that is the problem. The problem is losing faith, losing connection, losing losing the certainty in his presence. So in that case, what happened when you become godless society, godless human being? I think one of the very interesting essay that I read that one was of Friedrich Nietzsche, and it's a very famous one. I guess you must have heard about that, when he talks about God is dead. And of course, most people will look at that. If they don't read Nietzsche, they think as if Nietzsche is an atheist, that he was really anti-God. He wasn't actually. When he said God is dead, he was describing the fact that we as a humanity going through that. He was saying, look, God is not relevant to us anymore. And obviously he was talking about Christian God or God of Trinity. But I think largely the problem in modern times is true for even Muslims. So we become godless humanity, and therefore we see all kind of injustice, all kind of problems as a result of that. And what happens when we become godless, when we forget God? And it's really interesting. This ayah in Surah Al-Hashr says, Bismillah ar-Rahman, وَلَا تَكُونُوا كَالَّذِينَ نَسُوا اللَّهَ فَأَنْسَاهُمْ أَنفُسَهُم. It's truly amazing. The ayah says, Allah says here, the ayah says, if you become like those who forget Allah, and Allah make you to forget yourself, that's really amazing. We forget something. But I never heard someone say, I forget myself. I never heard that. No one say, I forget myself. So, but here ayah says that we are going to make you to forget yourself. What does it mean actually? It means forgetting your true reality. It means to know that who you are as a human, that you're being created in ahsani taqweem, that you're destined to be the friend of Allah. You're destined to reach to the highest of the high, and forgetting this potential. And also forgetting your mortality, being forgetful that we're here like just one day. This is one day journey. We're here. And Prophet Bismillah said it's like you're traveling and you just sit down under a tree and relax a little bit and you go. That is the part that you spend in this world in reality compared to eternity. So being forgetful of death or mortality is indeed a big, big forgetfulness. So in that case, was really we can see the sign of that one. This is I strongly recommend that you watch if you haven't seen. And this is an example of when you forget yourself, what you want to be. And there's a guy, a Japanese man, who spends 2 million yen to get the costume and to become a dog and act like a dog and live like a dog. It might look as if it's weird, but actually that is very, I think, telling in this case story. It's telling us that how we as a human being reach the level we're not aware of our humanity. We forget who we are, and we try to become animal. What a weird things. And perhaps the educational system, the existing dominant ideology already transform us internally to a type of animal, and that's the reason we see what we see, let's say in Gaza. It can come from human being. You can be human, commit such crime, and even wild animal could never do that. So in that case, it seems like indeed that we lost something and we turn to something else other than human. So what is the problem? So basically, we're going to look at the problem, the source of problem, as knowledge problem, and then we're going to look at 5D as a solution, and we'll mention and we'll talk about what is 5D and why we need 5D, and basically what we're talking so far is in a way is an answer to why question, why we need a new way of reconstructing knowledge, new way of rebuilding the mind. And that's the why question. And what is 5D and how the 5D can help? That we're going to touch on this as well. So essentially, we say the problem that we experience is, if we want to understand the root cause of problem, it's like when you have many diseases, it took humanity many, many centuries ultimately to understand that the root cause of those diseases are virus and bacteria. And once they understand that, then obviously the whole way of looking for a solution has changed. So the same things that I think the problem that we all are aware. I don't think we really need to spend a lot of time to talk about the problem. The problem that we see at every level in our time. It's very obvious, but what is the source of all these problems? So we think the source of all the problem is not ignorance, is knowledge, is education. So we think that actually began in 17th century with the Enlightenment in the Western Europe, and the way they reconstruct the knowledge and rebuild the mind with this knowledge is actually causing all the problem that we have in more modern time. And that knowledge comes with very detrimental virus. It's very dangerous. And that's come with all kind of, again, ism, materialism, naturalism, positivism, you name it. So in that case, that knowledge is actually, in one way, they say knowledge is power, but actually that power has been very destructive. The knowledge we gain, the power and progress, so-called, we have made, has been very destructive, destroy morality, destroy family, destroy humanity, and destroy many, many things, and destroy environments. So in that case, the power, in one way, you could say it is the power they corrupt. We say it is actually knowledge that causing that. And the power reveal that level of corruption. But the problem is not with the power, the problem with the mind that actually use the power. So when mind is corrupted, the power reveals this corruption of the mind and the heart. So therefore, we really don't think it is the power that corrupts. We think power actually reveal what, in this case, what is the level of corruption that we have, particularly when you gain really big power and no one can stop you, then now we can see your true face, can see your true value. And I think that in this regard, it's very clear that we are very corrupted as a humanity. And in a way, I don't know you, sometime I really, when I reflect on my life as just a small little human in the whole giant universe, and seeing how people are in denial or in forgetful of God, and see how they go around and commit all kind of evil as if there is no God. And I really become ashamed of being human. How come that you, as a human, will have mind, and you will be blessed with countless things, but you, instead of being thankful and submissive to the one who provide all these things to you, so you rebel and commit injustice. So when we look at it, when we see that knowledge, or that corrupted knowledge, basically comes as an ideology, comes mainly through education, generally speaking, and particularly through science. And we have a lot of empirical evidence that what scientists love to show that, clearly show that is the case. Like, this is a survey done in US among general public and scientists. General publics, 83% say they believe in God. Among scientists, only 33% say they believe in God. So obviously, there's something wrong with the scientific knowledge, get you away from God, disconnect you from God. And that's true also for Muslims. This is another survey done among the ex-Muslims. They have their association in North America, and 93% of them said that the conflict between science and Islam was the reason for them to become atheists, to leave Islam. So obviously, the problem with science is not only true for Christianity, it's true for Islam as well. So in that case, we describe its problem in actually two words. We say the problem is disconnection and misconnection. So if, like we say, I don't have a, let's say, a lot of memory or a time to know all this complicated long causes. So we can reduce all to the two main factor. We say the problem is disconnection and misconnection problem. The virus that we're talking about that comes with the secular ideology essentially disconnect us from the Creator and replace God with something else and misconnect us to them. That's what we call misconnection. So the disconnection first starts with the self, disconnecting the self from the sustainer, telling the people that you have the power, rely on yourself, discover your power, believe in yourself, unleash your power. And the self-help group has all this message to telling people you don't really need God. You discover God within yourself. In other words, discover the power within yourself and you rule your own life. You sustain your own life. So in other words, you are not abd, that the ideology, that's secular ideology, disconnect abd from the Rabb and tell the abd as if you can do it without Rabb. It's like disconnecting a little newborn baby from a mom, saying you can do it, discover your potential, it's your power. And that is the first disconnection. Second, disconnecting creation from the Creator, meaning that this secular materialistic ideology look at the creation and study the creation without any reference to the Creator. What do you mean that? We mean when you open any science textbook, chemistry, biology, so any science textbooks you open, you don't see God mentioned there because no need for that. You can scientifically explain that. So the creation can be understood without reference to the Creator. So we think that is a very, very big problem because it will become almost difficult to know the Creator because He created everything to connect to us. Now, if we cannot see that, then we cannot really connect to the Creator. Third, disconnecting creation from the Quran, meaning that reading the Quran without understanding how the Quran is linked to the universe, reading the Quran without looking at the examples, the ayah in the universe. That's this connection between the verses of Quran and the verses of the universe in Quranic term. And disconnecting Quran from Sunnah, that's, you can see those among some Muslims that put all emphasis as if Quran is sufficient and without any proper reference to the Prophet, peace be upon him, and his Sunnah. And then disconnecting believers from Quran in a way that when you don't know Arabic, and obviously you cannot connect to the Quran in a true sense, because no translation is the word of God. Translation is the word of human beings, the understanding of human or translator from the Quran. There is no way to truly connect to Allah through Quran without knowing Arabic and reading Quran directly as an authentic word of God. But unfortunately, we just get the idea as if we can memorize few verses and recite them in the prayer, and we don't need to learn Arabic, while for little worldly benefit, we spend years to learn English. So I think that is another problem. Again, those are 5 disconnection. And there are also 5 misconnection that make the problem even worse. Misconnecting the self to the self power, that in a way you can say is egotheism, that to believe in yourself rather than believing in God. And misconnecting the self to the worldly pleasure and power, hedonism, in a way seeking satisfaction through the worldly thing rather than through God. Misconnecting creation to nature, natural laws, as if natural laws has agency and power to make what is made constantly by the creator, and misconnecting the effect to the cause, as if the effect come from the cause, the tree come from the seed, the apple come from the tree, that causation is essentially leaves no room to the creator and creation. And misconnecting blessing of Allah to chance, randomness. So, and using the word I lucky, I wish you luck, very lucky. So our good chance. So that is again misconnection. Those are 5 misconnections. So in that case, essentially we think that secular science is separating those mentioned, those 5 separation, 5 disconnection, and 5 misconnection as the problem. So what makes the problem worse is not only disconnecting, is essentially in Quranic term is producing those ta'wuds like a god and replacing ta'wud, replacing God with ta'wud. That is basically as misconnection. So therefore, most of the time, if you just replace the word nature with God, there will be no loss in the meaning, because that's the meaning they ascribe to that. So the problem of, in this case, connection, lost connection, is because that despite the fact that Allah, the Creator, constantly communicate with us through revelation and through the creation, since we are blinded to see this connection, we are disconnected from the Creator through those, let's say, means of communication. So essentially, we lost the connection with the Creator. Disconnect, essentially, we don't have to go far. It is the teachers, textbooks are the one that essentially through the teaching they destroy this connection, and they are the one causing the misconnection. So if we follow the Quranic analogy, and a problem if we don't have a good, let's say, education, that's basically it's like a dry tree, because Quran says kalimatun khabisatun kashajaratun khabisatun. So in that case, the main description in that Quranic verse, that essentially what makes a tree to be very fruitful is its roots. If it has deep roots, deeply rooted, then it can nurture that, and it can feed that, and it can you can grow the fruit easily. Rabbiha. That's also very interesting expression in that ayah. Essentially, what we think the problem is in the roots in terms of the foundation, the fundamental understanding and is the tawheed that when it's missing, when we are disconnected, the root is disconnected. And when we don't see the connection between the creator, between the self, the sustainer, then we cannot get good outcome. We cannot get the good fruit in our life. So that is what we see is the problem. Now, what is the solution? I want to reflect a little bit on the solution. So obviously, if the problem is connection problem, then the solution is reconnect. If they're disconnected, then let's reconnect. But how can we reconnect? So first we need to know, how do we connect to the creator? What are the ways to connect? Essentially, if we look at it, we see we can connect through revelation or through creation. So we can basically go to the revelation like the Quran, or we can go to the creation. But here's the things. Can we connect to the creator through revelation without creation? Or can we, in other words, if we just go to the Quran and read the Quran and memorize Quran, without thinking and seeing the connection between the Quranic verse and the creation, can we actually establish sound and strong connection with Creator? So in other words, if we were not born bodily in the universe, and let's say we would just live, we just exist as a mind, and we get the Quran and telling all this thing to us, but without any body and without any experience, without any senses, will that be possible to actually, in this case, to just read Quran or get the Quranic message and try to understand through the mind and then find the Creator? So let's be again just briefly. If you can type it your answer, I think. What do you think? Can we connect to the Creator in a sound and strong way through revelation alone, without seeing the connection between revelation, between the Quran and creation? Just type, just for a little break, type your answer in the chat. I'm really curious about it, for the answer. See, there are some saying yes. Okay. Yes. Let's hear. Do you want to say how can you connect that, Sister Habiba? Okay. I'm really curious. I want to hear my question is this: if I tell you I'm really great artist, I have an amazing art skill, I communicate to you. If I don't really show my artwork to you, can you really be sure and have a certainty that I'm a great artist? Or do you really have to see my artwork? So that's the question. In other words, can we just go to Quran and read everything about Allah and read everything about in Akhirah or read all the story, and without really reflecting on the creation, can we actually reach to the level of certainty and establish a strong faith and strong connection with Creator? That's the question. Okay. So you see, okay, good. Again, I think that see, basically, what we're saying, we're not saying that you cannot know at all. We're saying that if you really look at, there's one actually story in the Quran in which that the Prophet Ibrahim asks Allah and says, I want to know how you raise the rocks. And Allah says, don't you believe? He says, sure, I believe, but I want to increase my yaqeen. And the way he said he wanted to increase his yaqeen, he was talking to Allah directly. And Allah didn't say, look, Ibrahim, if I tell you I'm going to resurrect, I can resurrect, that's all. No need. But Allah didn't say that. And what Allah said, okay, get 4 birds, train them to yourself, cut them into the pieces, and call them to yourself. And he did it. And the bird, or those pieces of meat, just stand up and, went to him. And that basically was for him to reach the yaqeen. But now, how can we reach the yaqeen? Can we see the miracle? I believe we need to see the miracle as well. It's not only Ibrahim alayhi salam. I think the entire creation is a miracle. And I think everything around us is a miracle. And I think that's when when Allah speaks to us through the Quran, as Allah did the Prophet alayhi salam, Allah revealing himself through his action in the universe. And that's the way that we can reach the yaqeen. So therefore, we argue that basically we need to study the Quran in connection with creation. And meanwhile, we're not arguing that you can go and, study the universe without revelation, because that's what the philosopher will say. But we think that's very, very difficult. And of course, some will say you could conclude and find that there must be creator, but you can't really know who is the creator. What are his attributes? What he wants from you? Why you are here? You can figure out from just looking at the creation. So therefore, we think that that should be. We need to read the Revelation with the creation and study creation with the light of revelation, not in a separate way. So therefore, we think that the reconnection between human and the creator should be done through the Quran and through the universe, through the creation and through the revelation. They should not be separated. They should not be, let's say, Islamic studies, they talk about gods and you just memorize. And they should not be, let's say, science and scientific subjects in which that you just talk about science and there's no reference or no connection, no relationship with the creator. So we think both should actually be integrated and should refer to each other. In that case, we say in 5D, basically, we're suggesting that we should have the Prophet, peace be upon him, as a teacher, has the Quran as like a textbook, and the universe like a workbook, that we can study the Quran through the teaching of the Prophet and through the examples that we see in the workbook of the universe. So we think that is the level of integration we should have in the way we study every subject, in the way that we design our curriculum. So in this case, when we really look at it, we see in Quran is, there's many, many verses essentially is all referring to the universe as the creation, including the very first ayahs in Surah Al-Alaq when it's revealed, Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq. So you see that read in the name of God who creates. So who is God? Oh, God is the one who creates. How can we know God? Or we can know God through his creation. But what are his creation? Oh, everywhere, in everything. That's how he reveals himself. Like the ayah says, قُلْ مَنْ رَبُّ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. Who is the sustainer of the heaven and the earth? قُلِ اللَّهُ. Who else could be? Say it's Allah. But then it says that قُلْ أَفَاتَّخَذْتُمْ مِنْ دُونِهِ أَوْلِيَاءَ لَا يَمْلِكُونَ لِأَنفُسِهِمْ نَفْعًا وَلَا ضَرًّا. It says that all other than him that you take as a guardian for yourself, they cannot benefit themselves and they cannot protect themselves from the harm. How they can help you? So you go and submit to something and hope something from someone or some let's say concept, some ideas, some forces, but but they cannot even help themselves. How they can help you? نقول هل يستوي الأعمى والبصير أم هل تستوي الظلمات والنور? This science also amazing. It says, is it the one who blind and the one who can see the same? Or is it the light and darkness be equal? So to me, that what the eye is saying that basically if you cannot see Rabbu Samawat wal Ard, you must be blind. Therefore, you cannot see. Then who is the one? How did we get blinded? We need to reflect on that. Or you must be in darkness, because and darkness and nur is not the same things. So if you are not in darkness, for sure you will see who is the Rabbu Samawat wal Ard. So if you cannot see, either you are in darkness or you're blinded. And we argue that essentially the existing secular ideology is blinding us to see the Rabbu Samawat wal Ard. And the existing knowledge is darkening our world and preventing us to see the sign. Though scientific works are doing, are actually revealing more and more signs of Allah. But when you lose your sight, even though you try to reveal the sign through your work, but you cannot see them, and you deny them as you are revealing them through your work. Then the next slide is really interesting. It says, أَمْ جَعَلْ لِلَّهِ شُرَكَاءَ خَلَقُوا كَخَلْقِهِ فَتَشَابَهَ الْخَلْقُ عَلَيْهِمْ. Is the one that you make a partner? Can they actually create like Allah, like God, that who create, and therefore you're confused? Is there anyone else out there? They create food for you, you eat, therefore you don't know who create the food? Is it God or someone else? And how can you deny? Because one other ayah says, why don't you look at your food? So you cannot live without food. But is there any scientist, any technology can create food for you? No, they just process that. They don't create. They cannot create even a single cell of those food that we eat and enjoy. So then why are you confused? Can you see the sign? So essentially, then says, قُلِ اللَّهُ خَالِقُ كُلِّ شَيْءٍ وَهُوَ الْوَاحِدُ الْقَهَّارُ. So they say Allah is the creator of everything, which means everything without exception around us as His creation. And actually, through everything around us, He revealed Himself as the creator. He's alone, is Wahid, which means the unity in the creation, the oneness in the creation, clearly point to His existence. And I think when it says, well, Wahid al-Qahhar, I kind of feel that Qahhar here is like, it's reveal the level of anger, in a way, saying, if you're still, despite all of this, that you're being created and you're blessed with this countless things and with the ability to see, and you deny Him, so then you deserve the punishment. That's what I think the Qahhar, in a way, referring that. So in this case, when we describe how we define 5D, we say 5D is a 5-step Tawheedi model of negating misconnection with modern Taghut and establishing reconnection with God by perceiving His manifestation, tajalliyat, in the 5-dimensional reality. That will include the Mulk and Malakut dimension in Quranic term, and reading sign of God in the giant book of the universe through the teaching of the Prophet, peace be upon him, and the light of Quran. That's, in a way, how we can describe that. So essentially, again, we see the problem in the modern education, materialism, is looking at the creation through the lens of 4D, which means 3 dimension of space and plus time. And when we look at through the lens of Tawheed or Quran, you see both Mulk and Malakut is mentioned, like Surah Al-Mulk says, Tabarak alladhi biyadihi al-mulk Surah Yasin, it says, بِيَدِهِ مَلَكُوتُ كُلِّ شَيْءٍ. So if we really pay attention, we see the Yad is mentioned, so refers to the control. That means both Mulk and Malakut dimension is directly under his control, and he's the one is doing and creating everything. So in this case, in 5D, essentially, we try to both look at the Mulk dimension and Malakut dimension. Therefore, in one way, we call it the 5th dimension of the creation, and also as 5th dimension of thinking in this regard. So essentially, those 5-dimensional thinking, we're going to show an example, is analytical thinking. That's, we call it explore. Analogical thinking, we call compare. Critical thinking, we call it question. Meditative thinking, we call it connect. And moral thinking, we call appreciate. So essentially, what we do in this 5 steps or 5-dimensional thinking, we try to re-establish connection with Creator, and then see his bounty and blessing, and offer our sincere appreciation. So in this regards, 5D is a thinking model that essentially get us through certain steps of thinking in a very structured way, that we can have a journey to go beyond the material dimension and
Dr. Njati, your sound has disappeared. Dr. Njati, can you hear me? I'm trying to contact him. I don't think he's seeing my messages.
okay. So I was disconnected.
For about a minute and a half. Yeah.
Oh, about a minute. Okay.
Let's go back to this slide. You were just finishing the slide off.
Which one?
The 5D thinking one.
This one?
This one. You just finished it. Yeah, you were just moving on to the next one. Yeah.
Oh, I don't know what happened. I think so. So I was just talking to myself. Okay. So that was a connection problem as well, right? With internet, I think it was disconnected on the phone. So again, I think I have like 5 minutes, right? So I can briefly
Yes.
finish that. So essentially, those are the 5 dimensions of thinking, and again, analytical thinking. We explore and try to see the sign. Analogical thinking, we use analogy to comprehend and understand what we see to perceive. And critical thinking, we engage in questioning to negate the taghut, nature, cause, and chance. Meditative thinking is essentially when we establish the connection with the Creator. And moral thinking is, we say, appreciate, that when we basically feel the presence of the Creator and see his blessing and offer our appreciation. So in this case, a 5D is a thinking model. So essentially, those are the 5 steps of thinking through which we can go beyond the beyond the Mulk dimension and see the Malakut dimension, and then see the hand of God behind everything. When again, Quranic term, بِيَدِهِ مَلَكُوتُ كُلِّ شَيْءٍ, both in Malakut, where تَبَارَكَ الَّذِي بِيَدِهِ مُلْكٌ, to see his hand in everything. So, and ultimately, to gain God consciousness, to be conscious of him by seeing his sign and live our life and make our choice accordingly. So it's as the Quran says, وَمَعَكُمْ أَيْنَمَا كُنْتُمْ. He is with you wherever you go, but the way we see and feel his presence is through seeing his sign wherever we go. So in this regard, again, we will look at it, say 5D is a thinking model. The reason we establish based on thinking is because, and it's actually our normal training or workshop is very interactive. We love to engage in interaction and hear different views. So we're not really preaching, but now we have short time and therefore we're just talking. It goes against our, a common way of covering and developing this model. So in this case, we basically love this phrase from Socrates. Is a Socratic way of saying the real teaching is through making people to think. And Quran has a lot of, ayah referring us and saying us, why don't you think? So in this case, we say that the existing knowledge comes with secular ideology, but without God and the character. It generates excellence, but with no soul. And our goal is to provide an integrated type of knowledge, but remove the secular ideology. The goal is to achieve excellence with a strong faith and sound character. Again, those are the dimensions. We already discussed those. So, and this is, as we know, as an educators, so the purpose, like as the Bloom's taxonomy refer that the purpose is to really push toward a higher level of thinking. And as I mentioned, critical thinking particularly is one of the pillar for the model, because we think it's if we get into sound thinking, deep thinking through the light of Quran, we can see the sign of Allah. So essentially, we map our model with the kalima shahada. We say that the first two steps is like ashhadu part, that with analytical and knowledgeable, that we try to see the sign and understand the sign. And critical thinking is a la ilaha part, in which we negate or reject the taghut. And meditative thinking is illallah part, in which we connect the sign to the creator. And moral thinking is Muhammadun Rasulullah. Our arguments that most of Islamic education we do is as if we're teaching illallah without la ilaha. So we think that there has to be ashhadu and la ilaha first. So you bear witness, you negate, then you affirm. So you cannot just start with affirmation and say, oh, that's like we believe in God. No, actually, we don't say we believe in God first. We say, bear witness that there is no God first. Then I bear witness that there is God alone, that He is alone is the creator. So I think that's what we have it in the 5D as well. So again, we're going to go through the examples. So I think therefore we don't really need to go through them now. I can stop here and we can move to the next step.
Okay, Jazakallah khair. So I'm going to be going through an example, but just before I do that, I do want to just quickly talk about a little bit about the misconnection that Dr. Njati mentioned, inshallah. So let me just start. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. As-salatu was-salamu Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. So I just I want to talk a little bit about the misconnection. The disconnection is there, and the misconnection, where exactly is it? I think if we talk about this, then the example I present will be clear, inshallah. So when we look at textbooks, we often, something will jump out at us clearly as being secular, but there are some things which are quite hidden. And also when we use AI, we find that AI is very secular. It's programmed from the secular worldview. So we get a very, we get the disconnected answer. So I'll just give you one example of a disconnected answer. So I was doing some work on our workbooks, and I asked ChatGPT this question, that give me some questions showing that the life cycle of a frog is not the product of nature, cause, or chance, but a creation. So when we are in our 5D thinking model working on the books, we are in our critical thinking step, we are negating nature, cause, and chance. So I needed some questions. So I asked this question, and the answer that I was given by ChatGPT was that I must clarify that the life cycle of a frog is indeed a product of nature and not a result of intentional creation. The life cycle of frogs, like other organisms, follows natural processes and adaptations that have evolved over millions of years. The development from eggs to tadpoles to adult frogs is a result of biological and environmental factors. So these are the key hidden things that we can see. So when it says here is indeed a product of nature. So the word nature itself is very misleading and is very ideologically laden. It's a secular word because it attributes everything that happens around us to automatic processes. But what's more dangerous in this particular answer is that it's saying that it's not a result of intentional creation. So imagine if our children are using these models, using this AI, and they're not they haven't got clarity of thinking and they haven't been able to remove secularism from their minds, then this is going to hurt them. And then if it goes on to say, it follows natural processes and adaptations that have evolved. So most of us would immediately see the evolution word there and say, okay, that's the problem. But actually, even natural processes, adaptations, that's also a problem. The result of biological environmental factors, these are all causations. So you have nature and cause hidden here within this answer. Also, when we teach things like the plant life cycle in an Islamic school, you might start off by saying, but with a verse of Quran, and you might start off by saying, Allah is the creator of plants. But as you teach the plant life cycle, you're teaching it from the point, starting point of the seed, that the seed is put in the soil, and there in the soil, because of the nutritious soil, because of the water, the seed is going to germinate and produce a root. And those roots will go deep into the ground. They will continue to absorb nutrition from the soil. And as they start sprouting, then they use the sun's energy. They harness the sun's energy in order to grow into adult plants, which eventually then produce flowers. And then through the flowers produce fruit. Through the fruit, you get seed. So we actually, when we teach it, although we may have talked about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at the beginning of the lesson, but when we are talking about these processes and these things that are causing that seed to grow, then we have disconnected from the creator. Another example is the water cycle. When we talk about the evaporation of the water molecules, we say it's because of the heat of the sun. The sun is causing those water molecules to evaporate. And then as the water vapor rises into the higher atmosphere, then it condenses, and then it's the clouds that bring rain, and the rain falls down and it goes again and again. So here you might be thinking, well, yes, you need the sun, you need the soil, you need water. Yes, you need those things. That's the way the creator has created it. But when we observe it, why is it that we remove the creator from that and attribute it to natural processes, and as if it's a cycle happening by itself independently? Or maybe we have a deistic thinking and we think that, oh, Allah He started it off and it continues by itself. He has given all of these objects abilities to go and do these things, and that's why it's through His command that they are doing it. But actually what we do in the 5D thinking model, we go deeper and we talk about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as being the constant creator of every single step. Another example here is from a textbook. It says that, yes, some things seem to be non-living for a very long time. They wait until they sense the right conditions to revive again. This means they have to wait for something special to happen before they can revive and show the characteristics of living things. We say they need the right conditions to revive and show the 7 life processes. So these seeds were in the book they were discussed as non-living things, and then now it's saying that these non-living things have to wait. They have to sense the right conditions, and then through that sensation, they will sense it, and then they will revive when the conditions are correct. So again, we see causation happening. When we look at any animal or plant in a particular environment, we say it's adapted to that environment. So we'll say that the giraffe is adapted, its coat color, its neck, its legs, all of that to live in the savannah, to eat the particular type of leaves that it wants to eat from the particular tree. And so it adapted itself, or the polar bear adapted itself, or the Arctic fox adapted itself so it can camouflage. So we see all of these examples. Another textbook here. There are not many plants that can stay alive when the weather is very hot and dry. Those that can have clever ways of keeping cool and saving water. Unlike animals, plants cannot move to find shade and water. If plants are lucky, their seeds fall in shady places. Some plants like juniper and eucalyptus have adapted to grow in full sunlight. So I'm rushing through it a bit because I do have other things to tell you, but I'm sure you can see. So to conclude, really, these are the kind of words that are hidden within our textbooks. Nature, cause, chance, adaptation, evolution, random, luck, things attributed to be clever, etc. So these are some of the problem areas that we find in our textbook. Inshallah, if you join our level 1 training, we'll go through it in more detail and help you to understand it more. So now I just want to go through the example from our book of the way in which we have done it is we have tried to ensure, inshallah, that there is no hidden secularism. And I'll, inshallah, go through how we've done that. Okay, so I'm going to take one of our topics from our learning management system for grade 1. So this is our grade 1 textbook, Science Secrets in 5 Steps. And we are going to talk about the enchanting earth. So usually in grade 1, we talk about the earth, its structure. We look at the different landforms on the earth. And obviously at the higher level, there will be a lot of discussion of how the different continents drifted apart through tectonic movements. There will be, if you talk about the Big Bang, you'll talk about how the solar system was made through energy transfer, energy changes happening in the universe to get the solar system that we are in. And if you look at the Earth structure, then again, it will be discussed in a way that, rock formation, how it happened over time, and how different landforms and features like mountains, they develop through volcanic activity. So that's the kind of secularism that we find in there. At the lower level, at grade 1, 2 level, you probably would just be studying about the landforms of what they are, what is actually on the earth, and that it's been there for millions of years, etc. So in this particular chapter, so this is LMS, so, let's apply 5D thinking, 5D thinking steps to understand the earth. So the 5 steps are explore. So this is the analytical thinking. Then analogical thinking, we compare. Then in critical thinking, we are questioning. In meditative thinking, we are connecting. And in moral thinking, we are going to appreciate. So these are the 5 steps that we go through. So in the first step of explore, which is analytical thinking, this is where the science would be. This is where you would talk about, this is the earth, these are the features of the earth, etc. So for grade 1, we decided to do a little story. Oops, 1 minute. Sorry, there's something happening. Give me just 1 second to adjust. Okay. We have a story. So Dad told Zainab and Ali a story about Phileas Fogg. He flew all the way around the earth in a hot air balloon. So you may know this story. You could, as a teacher, talk about the story of Phileas Fogg, and you could show a video about, the kind of hot air balloons that they used to exist at that time and how he flew around the world in 80 days. So as we continue our story, Zainab and Ali decided to go on a balloon ride. They wanted to see the earth from above. They were excited as they soared into the sky, feeling the wind and seeing everything below looking like tiny toys. From up high, they saw fields, rivers, trees, flowers, and even the big ocean. The earth looked like a beautiful playground. When they landed, they felt happy. How amazing the earth looked from above, Zainab said to Ali. So here in this part of the topic, what we're doing is we're showing through observation what they can see. So from up high, they could see the fields, the rivers, the trees, the flowers, and even the ocean. And you could elaborate the story and take them through all the different types of, canyons, lakes, wherever you are in the world, whatever is around you, you can adapt the story to help the children see that from a hot air balloon, what landforms they can see on the earth. Then we also have some videos that we show. So this video will talk about the earth again from a higher elevation, so you can see all of its different landforms. For time's sake, I'm not going to play it because I want to discuss a few things. Then we go towards some fascinating facts. So, for example, the earth spins like a top, so we see the sun rise in the morning and set at night. The earth has a special bubble of air around it. This helps us breathe and makes the sky look blue. The middle of the earth is as hot as the sun. The tallest place on earth is on top of Mount Everest, and the longest line of mountains is way down deep in the ocean. Now we go to our second step. So our second step is an analogy. So it's always an analogy, and it's an analogy of something made by humans. So we're going to compare the earth to a palace. So why are we comparing it to a palace? Because earth is like a home for us. It's a home for many different people, many different plants and animals. A palace is also a very large home. It's very grand. It can house many different people. So there's going to be some similarities and some differences. Now, it might be that children have never seen a palace before. So here is a video that you can show them of what a palace looks like, how it's very rich, it's very comfortable, and more than comfortable, it's very luxurious. There's many things within a palace that help the people in the palace to be very, very happy and fulfills all their needs. So when we compare the earth to a palace, we can see that the earth, this is being very naughty today. I don't know why. My laptop mouse is very sensitive for some reason. Look, imagine the earth as a big palace. The ground is like the palace floor with a green rug of grass, and the sky is a cozy blue roof above us. So you can make the analogy that in a palace, you would have a red carpet. It might be embellished. The ceiling of the palace, as you see in the video, would be embellished with lights, with maybe some paintings and a lot of features within it. And so if you look up at the sky, this is actually a very beautiful ceiling above us, where we can see lots of different things happening. We can see different shades of sunrise, sunset. We can see clouds, different types of weather. And the grass beneath our feet is also very important for us, and it's very useful. Then we go on to another example, is the plants and trees are like kitchens where food is made using sunlight. So like in a palace, you would have chefs, you would have many chefs who are busy cooking away food to serve the people who live in the palace. There are so many plants on the earth which are busy giving us food. So, we would be very, happy in a palace. We would be sitting there waiting for our food to come. We'd see it as luxury. We'd see that we were being taken care of. We'd be enjoying this exciting food. Whereas when we look at the earth, when the food that we are getting through the earth, do we always see it as a luxury? Do we always see it as somebody is making this for us, giving it to us? So here we're going to explore this analogy a little further, that just like the sun is a bright light during the day, in a palace you have beautiful chandeliers which light up huge rooms. Then at night, the moon is like a soft night light. Stars are like shiny stickers in the night sky. In a palace at nighttime, you might dim the lights. You might have just a few lamps burning, which again give a beautiful atmosphere. Another example that we can compare, that lakes and rivers are the earth's fountains. So in a palace grounds, you might have fountains. So on the earth, you have lakes and rivers, which are like fountains where water, is delivered to you, and it goes up and it comes back down as rain. Our earth palace even spins and moves, but yet we don't feel it. We don't feel it moving. We don't ever feel uncomfortable with its movement. So that was our second step. Dr. Najati, would you just like to add anything here?
Yeah, no, I think overall is we see this, this analogy very clear in Quran. When the Quran, let's say, refer to the sun, it says Siraj al-Nur. It says it's like a lamp for you, and the Quran actually praise even in one ayah, "Alam tara kayfa daraba Allahu mathalan kalimatan tayyibatan kashajaratin tayyibatun." So the analogy, it's very Quranic way of looking at, and there are some educators. They argue that we as a human, we truly comprehend only through analogy. So they really think analogical thinking is very essential for comprehension, to understand what you don't know, what you're learning for first time. So therefore, I think what we cover and explore and in compare stage. So when we use analogy, in a way that we are linking what we observe to our experiential side, because we use analogy in a way that our arguments or our connection with creator is not based on empirical evidence, is based on intuitive evidence, is based on experiential evidence, it's based on what we know from our experience. So that's the reason that analogy is essential. In fact, we strongly recommend to do some hands-on activity, to directly have the students to experience some things. Then from that experience, they can compare their work with the works of God and try to have understanding in this regard. So therefore, analogy is, I think, is really, really essential. So, but the key part here is to really get the right analogy. An analogy should make sense. An analogy should, in a way, we're not really using analogy to compare and to say God made one is better, because our point is not to say which one is better. That's obvious. Our point is to say they are similar, and we know from our experience what it takes to make a palace. And if the planet is a giant palace, obviously there must be a maker of this palace. If there is no one ever on this planet, disbelief in the maker of any building, forget about the best building or the palaces. And then if the planet is like a palace, how can you deny the maker, the builder of this building? So that's the point we're going to reach in through that knowledge.
So in our third step now, we're going to questions. This is the critical thinking. And so we're going to find out who made the earth. So the earth is our topic, and that's what we're studying. So using the analogy of a palace or any building, we're going to ask some questions. Now, this is at grade 1 level, so our questions be very, very simple, but it will be introducing children to this idea that can things make themselves? So we will ask the question, can a house make itself? No, it cannot. It needs builders. So maybe some of the children have had a house that's built or seen a house that's being built. So again, the experiential knowledge is very important. Then you could also ask this, what about a palace? Do you think a palace can make itself? Obviously not. You need so many different people to make it. Then you can say, well, what about a wind? Can the wind make the house? If you leave all the materials, so you have all this timber, you have the bricks, you have all the wires, everything you need for a house to be comfortable. If it was left alone, would the wind move it around, and would a house be made by itself? No, it would not. What about animals? Can they build a house like yours? No, they cannot. So again, all of these things are things that a child can easily comprehend. They know these things don't happen. And as Dr. Njati said, that if you at this stage do an activity with them, like maybe make a Lego house and say, okay, we're making this Lego house or a Lego palace. How long is it going to take us to make it? And what do we have to do to make it? What do we need to know to make it? So you're showing them that they need knowledge, they need effort, they need skills in order to be able to make even a Lego house. Then we go on to then the talking about our earth and saying, well, the earth is like a house. It's a big home. It's more amazing than any house. So there must be someone with lots of knowledge who made the earth. Who do you think built the earth? So this is how in the critical thinking step, we have brought them to this idea that to ignite some curiosity within them that, okay, we've studied this earth. You know, Zainab and Ali went up in a balloon and they saw lakes, they saw mountains, they saw rivers, oceans, they saw all these things. So this is a home for different animals, for us, for plants. So who made this? It didn't make itself. The wind didn't make it. So who made it? So this is the aspect of inquiry that is going to lead them to discovery, inshallah. And you'll notice that up until these 3 steps, we haven't mentioned Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We haven't brought in any verse of Quran. We haven't done any of that because what we want to do is just simply focus on the experienced reality around them, through which they observe. And that's actually what science is. In science, you are making observations of what's around you, and then you're trying to understand how to use it or how it affects you. So then we go on to our 4th step, which is meditative thinking. And this step is about connectivity and understanding that the earth can't exist by itself. So what does it need? So we would ask the question, what do you think the earth needs to exist? To find out who made it, we need to see what else is going on. So we know that the earth also needs the sun. We know that it needs the moon. It also needs the stars which are far away. It needs the solar system. The earth has on it land, water, air. All these things work together like a team. The plants and the animals that are on the earth, they need the water that is on the earth, that is coming through the water cycle. So we see all of this interconnectivity. So inshallah, if you join our training, you will see that the idea of interconnectivity and interdependency is a key point that helps us make the argument that in order for all of these, for the earth to exist and all of these things that need to exist, this is just a part of the puzzle. It's a piece of the puzzle. There's so many things that are connected together. But then the question is, then who connected it together? Whoever is the maker of one is the maker of all. So whoever makes the earth must be the maker of everything. And whoever makes everything must be the maker of earth. And that is Allah, the maker of this beautiful connected world. That this is how then we take them to discover that, okay, the one who made the earth, it cannot be me or you. It cannot be all of us collectively. It must be someone who is more amazing, more knowledgeable, all powerful, all knowing, who made this earth and every single thing that's in it. Dr. Najati, would you like to add anything here?
Yeah, I think the steps, it's again, the 3rd steps that we're negating is la ilaha part, and the 4th step is we need to, when we negate that nature, material cause and chance cannot be the source, and then now that doesn't mean Allah is the one that make it. We need to still make the case that only Allah could be the creator of the earth and the universe. So that's what we try to do in the connect step. So in the step 3, we try to, based on the grade level, in a very structured way, negate nature and material causes and chance one by one. On step 4, we make a 2 core argument, interconnectivity and interdependency. And from that, we basically conclude that only Allah could be the creator. What we mean by interconnectivity, our argument here that the existing scientific approach is very disconnecting everything from each other. It is, we call departmentalization. So what we do, we integrate everything, we unite everything. That's a tawheed. Tawheed is unity. There is unity in creation. The entire creation is actually connected to each other. Even in science now, we said at the subatomic level, there is such connection. There was a book recently published by a physics professor from University of Cambridge. It's a very, very interesting book. It says how to make an apple pie from scratch. In that book, he argues that to make an apple pie, you need 4 billion times billions atoms. But he says to make an apple pie, to have an apple, you have to make the entire universe first, which means the whole universe is connected to each other, which means we don't get apple from an apple tree, we get an apple from the tree of the universe. And everything in the universe is connected. And in this case, the tree is the apple is attached to the tree of the universe. So our point in the fourth step is to reveal this interconnectivity. And then to say, if everything is connected to everything else, that means whoever creates the entire universe must be the one who creates the parts like the planet Earth. So that's really, that's what we, in a way, try to present our argument. So, and who could be that? The one with infinite power. Who can have infinite power? Or there can be only one infinite power. By logic, you cannot have two. Oh, that is what Quran calls him Allah. See, we bring Allah only on the step 4, and we bring Allah as basically the source of what we observe from the very beginning. And we think that we can never teach any subject without connecting to the Creator, because in everything there is constant creation and everything is constantly sustained by the Creator. As you can never talk and teach about shadow as an independent existence, you can never talk about any contingent being, any object, any things without seeing its connection with the Creator. And that connection we establish very clearly in step 4.
Okay, so let's move on now to the next step. So the 5th step, which is moral thinking, we're going to appreciate. So we're going to say, let's think about how amazing.
What happened to divine names? I think isn't there?
My mouse is being, here it is.
Okay.
My mouse is just running away from me right now. Okay. So mashallah, in the 4th step, we also then ask the question, what does the earth tell us about Allah? So here we will then, by looking at the earth, we will reflect on some divine names. So we'll say the earth is so big with huge mountains and deep oceans. It shows us that Allah is the greatest. So showing the children the greatness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that He is Al-Kabir, through the huge mountains, the deep oceans. And also through these mountains and colorful skies, we can see that Allah is magnificent, Al-Jalil. All the animals and plants that exist tell us that Allah is the one who gave them life, is Al-Muhyi. Earth is home to with food and water for many different creatures. We are all under the care of Allah. This tells us Allah is the most merciful, Ar-Rahman. He gives every living thing what it needs to grow and be happy, from the tiniest bug to the tallest tree. He must be most kind. He's Ar-Rahim. So here really we bring these divine names to life. We connect them to the topic that we are studying, and we're finding the feedback from teachers and parents is that the names of Allah are becoming very real for the children, and they're able to see the names of Allah when they go out and they are discovering something themselves. So even though in our books we have 5 names for every topic, during the lessons where teachers are saying they're coming up with multiple names. And as they come up with the names, they are seeing Allah in so many different aspects of creation that it truly is strengthening their belief, alhamdulillah. Right, so the fifth step is the moral thinking. So now all of this connection with Allah leads us to the conclusion that, okay, this is so amazing. The Creator is so amazing. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is so amazing that we must now be appreciative of his creation, of him as a creator. He has created so many amazing things. So if we think of the earth as a big, amazing house with the special rooms for all kind of animals, here you could even integrate the idea of habitats into this discussion. And we see that because through the earth, we get air. Through the earth, we get water. We get so many wonderful things from it. Linking back to the analogy of the palace, that when we go to a palace and we are served something in the palace, we do see it as luxury. But then we also need to see that where we are living right now is also a palace. This earth is a palace. And here we also have luxury because water is a ni'mah, a blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The air is a blessing. So we start to see everything as luxurious and wonderful. And so therefore, we should be thankful for our wonderful home, earth, and see it as a beautiful gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then we can go on to here, there's a video that can help us to appreciate how Earth is so wonderful. Because if you were on Mars, how would you look on Mars? How would you live? How would you live on planet Venus or Jupiter? So we've included this video for the children to reflect further on how Earth has been made a perfect home for us. And then how are we going to show appreciation to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? So here in our model, we have included dhikr, fikr, and shukr. So through dhikr, remembering that Allah is the one who gave us the amazing earth as a wonderful home. So whenever we are out playing, seeing things, driving, wherever we're going, we will see that this is being given to us from Allah. We will remember that it's Allah who gave this to us. Because we've been through this topic, we will know that this is not made by a human. It did not make itself. It did not get made by natural causes. It's made by the Creator. So that's dhikr. And through reflection, fikr, we will think about the amazing landforms that are there, the mountains, oceans, and forests that make everything look so beautiful. And so, alhamdulillah, this is a topic actually that is very easy because it speaks to the fitrah, it touches the fitrah. And then, therefore, we're going to give shukr, thanking Allah for all the blessings on the earth, the air, the water, all the food that comes through the ground, through the trees. And we give thanks to Allah through shukr. Then we move on to this question that what can we learn from the earth to make our world better? And here we're going to derive character lessons. So let's look at the concept of sharing. How can we see that when we study the earth? That we share earth with animals and plants like we share toys with our friends. Sharing is a way to be kind and giving. So the whole earth, if you look at all the habitats, you look everywhere, human beings, animals, plants, are sharing everything that's there. So we can see that through the earth, we can learn ourselves to share the things that we have. Being helpful, that everything on earth helps each other, like the bees and the flowers. This teaches us that helping is good and that teamwork makes things better. Respect for all life. There are many animals and plants on earth. Every living thing is special and should be treated nicely. So these character lessons can be explored in a very deep way. It can be done through circle time. It can be done through activity. You can take your time about exploring these character lessons. And then we end each chapter, each unit with a verse of Quran. So in this particular verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he talks about him making the earth, spreading it out for us, placing on it mountains, causing everything to grow in perfect balance. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who causes everything. And hadith, connect with hadith. This hadith tells us that we can pray anywhere on earth. The earth has been made for me a place of prostration and a means of purification. So wherever a man of my ummah is, when the time for prayer comes, let him pray. So, the earth, the whole of it is a place where we can remember Allah and pray to him. Then we end with the dua. Thank you, Allah, for the earth so grand, for oceans, rivers, and the land. Help me care for it each day and be thankful in every way. So this is an example of our LMS resource. Along with this, there are assessment questions, activities, and even a little exam if you want to assess the children on some things, inshallah. So this is the end of my presentation. So now we can open it up for questions. We'd love to hear what you have to say and your reflections as well. Jazakallah khair.
Okay, thank you very much. I think I want to highlight a few points as we're waiting for our participant to raise their question. One thing that you see toward the very end that we bring the ayah, we did not bring at the beginning. So that's one of the differences in our model. We say we don't really, it's not an eclectic model that we add the ayah to the content of secular topics. It's an extractive model. We actually see the ayah is already in the universe from the Quranic perspective. So through the 5D lens, we try to see those ayah in the universe and read them. And then we just at the very end compare with the ayah in Quran in a way to say, look, with the ayah we just see in the universe, it actually is also revealed in the Quran. So that's our approach. Therefore, we don't start with the ayah. We don't mention even, Allah at the very beginning until we make the case. And then after that, we will point to that one. That's one of the essential, I think, point in our model. And one other thing is on the 5th step, an appreciate step. So we try to really structure, come up with certain way, make it very, let's say, step-by-step easy model to apply. Like to appreciate, we say, okay, the dhikr, fikr, shukr, we structure that way. We offer certain what if reflection part in that section. Like, what if, let's say, the planet was like a Mars or was like a Jupiter? What if now is actually, it's interesting the way Allah creates our planet and put the other planet near us with different conditions in a way that he wants us to look at them and reflect and compare and understand that what we have it here is a intentional blessing, is not accidental. So, and that's we provide in such structured way. So I think what we see in the models that essentially, as the teacher goes through them and understand and digest and internalize, they embrace the model as something very helpful for themselves. It's like when you're cooking the food for someone else, but you also need the food and you taste, you eat, you enjoy. And that's basically benefit you first and foremost, then you also share with others as well. I think that's one thing we find out. I remember when we share our workbooks with one of our piloting schools, and a teacher recorded a video and sent it to us, and she was hugging the book and saying, this is first and foremost is for me. I read that and I benefit from it. And I think that is the level, that's the things that we expect and want the teachers first to read and understand, internalize, and then they can communicate with their students. Yes, now let's see, any questions, any comments, any objections? So I think we have around 20 minutes, right?
There's a couple of questions in the chat. Do you have any lesson plans based on grade level? So what we do really is that we run training sessions. So we will take a cohort online, or we will go to a school. And through our training, we will show how to bring that lesson into the classroom. We will discuss how to break it down, but we haven't produced separate lesson plans yet, but we are thinking of, we are looking into it, that if a school is going to ask us of that service, inshallah, we will provide that service. But through training, we actually explain how to do it. There's also a question about a weekend school, or weekend classes, where they have only 45 minutes. So there I suggested that maybe if you take one topic over a month, so if you have 4 days, 4 sets of 45 minutes, you can take one topic and just go through the 5 steps in that. Actually, the issue is that through this 5D thinking model, at every step you're engaging in thinking. So you're actually teaching a thinking skill. And once you teach those thinking skills, then through that, the children are going to become closely connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So even if you're doing, say, in one lesson, you're doing the analytical thinking and the analogical thinking, then you're building up that skill. And then the second lesson, you go to critical thinking. This is how they actually do it in schools. They'll take one topic over a week. And you know that in a school, usually there's 4 lessons of science in a week. Usually most schools have that. So that's the advice there. Then another question is, any leads for integrating the 5D model in a library in different aspects? So again, I would say that, some of the books we've made, we actually have stories within there. So you could use those stories and make them reflective stories, and use the story itself to go through the whole 5D thinking model. But again, inshallah, we can have a one-to-one talk about how to do this. There's this one sister who's requesting you to show 2 of the slides again. The connecting with God through revelation, creation, or both. And the blue.
I think we can share the whole.
Yeah, we can share the PowerPoint with you. If you join this group link that I've sent, the objective of this group is to be able to share resources with you. So if you just join it, a few people have joined, alhamdulillah. So I will be sending material in there for you. Inshallah, I have everyone's email, so I will also share the YouTube link. In fact, I actually did send it out in case, because actually we had an overwhelming response. We had 167 registrations. So we were a little bit stressed that how we're going to manage that on Zoom. So we did a YouTube live link. So you should have got that email. Yeah, inshallah, you can have the slides. Would anyone like to share a reflection of what they have heard today? You can raise your hand, and I can allow you to open the mic, inshallah. Yeah, you can unmute yourselves. Do you have an example of a topic that could be delivered to teens and young adults? So for 6 to 8, we have all the topics that you would have in a science textbook, like cells, energy, forces, things like that. We have resources up to grade 8.
I think it's the question on the lessons part. One things we find out, so we don't have let's say lessons based on a particular curriculum, but I think that what we have on the LMS that can be easily adopted, based on, let's say, a particular curriculum, and it can be used as a lesson. So we are planning to, in a way, work with different curriculum and customize for them. As basically, in a way, show them how it can be done. But I think anyone who understands the model, the material is there. You just need to look at your curriculum and see how you can customize based on your curriculum. So we are essentially not in developing any particular curriculum. And wherever we go, we hear from various people with different curriculum requirements. But we argue that our model is a good fit for almost any curriculum, because we are not we're not offering curriculum. We are offering a particular perspective, a lens, that once you have that, once you understand that, you can easily adopt this one and deliver whatever content that you're supposed to do based on your curriculum using our model. That's why we think it's very what we are offering is a model of building the mind and basically giving a new perspective with which you can look at any subject. And so far we're covering science subject, but we are going to apply 5D to all other subjects, because it's not science only. Everything's Ayah, and therefore everything should be we should be able to read everything through such lens.
So there's a question about pilot schools, etc. So I'll give some more detail that in 2023, we conducted a pilot study with 3 schools where as we had been making the resources, we went into schools and we actually trained the teachers to apply the model. And through them, we got some amazing feedback, which led us to make a few changes. And now, mashallah, through the training that we've been giving over the past few years, we have 16 schools who are working on the 5D model with us, alhamdulillah. So they're all doing it in different capacity. Some of them are using books, some of them are using our LMS system. And at all grade levels, actually, even I have seen a grade 9 lesson, a grade 10 lesson, based on the training that the teachers have received, alhamdulillah.
There's one question. There's one question. It was maybe I give you a break. We can. There's one question. I look at it. It's saying that can you give an example of how you can apply 5D to a history subject? That's a very good question. And I think particularly analogy. The question is about analogy. You can, let's say, have some historical event as your analogy. So you will use that. Let's say you're going to take a particular event from the life of the Prophet, peace be upon him, the story of other prophets from the Quran, or any, let's say, historical event. And then now you compare with, let's say, an event in our time. So your analogy will be comparison between the two. Let's say if you want to understand and compare sort of how this happened and how we are doing now, and that comparison in a way is going to basically help you to present your subjects in let's say in a logical way and try to use those we'll call manaqib or this historical event as an analogy to really understand your situation in terms of, let's say, obviously in terms of the connection between those events and the creator and the act of those, people, and an actor within those events and how they behave. So obviously, social science that we will do some tweak to just make sure that we in a way that we stay relevant within social science. But I think one way we want to use the historical subject as an analogy. If there is no historical subject, you can make an hypothetical one as an ideal let's say story, and then you compare with the let's say what is happening. So that's hypothetical or fictional versus the real one, and then compare and question and try to understand from that. That's what we think the story can really be a very, very good way of using analogy. So in this regard, we think those prophetic story in the Quran, the story of prophets, all are excellent analogy that we can reflect on our life or, let's say, events in comparison to those events and use them as an analogy.
Okay, there don't seem to be any more questions. Maybe we can talk about now how we can move forward with this group of people who have joined us, inshallah. So I think there's quite a few homeschoolers here, and there's teachers and people from all around the world, mashallah. So I have your emails. I'll be sending out the link of the YouTube link that we live streamed on and the slides. And so we basically offer online training. Every couple of months, we have a different cohort in which we go through level 1 training. So our level 1 training is about 12 hours of sessions, but some additional hours of work that you have to do to study the model. And really today we ran through everything. We went through everything so fast, but we will go deeply into the idea of nature, causation, and chance. We will go deeply into the idea of how scientism and secular science have brainwashed us into thinking that, things, molecules and atoms and things just move around by themselves and do everything themselves. So the level 1 training is ideal for any teacher who wants to implement it, any homeschooler, any mother, any person who wants to connect with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And after level 1 training, we also have level 2, 3, and 4 as you want to progress, if you want to progress with us. In terms of on-site training, if we have a school that invites us, then we're quite happy to travel. Alhamdulillah, we've traveled into quite a few different parts of the world. We've been to Malaysia, South Africa, been to Canada several times, UK. We're now planning something in Egypt, inshallah, with some very amazing schools down there. So that's something that we can do. And the other thing is that if you would like to use our resources, then again, you can purchase our LMS. We have different packages for schools and different packages for individual subscribers as well. Dr. Njati, would you like to add anything to that?
Yeah, I think what I will say is, you know, if you somehow see what you hear tonight, it give you any, let's say, conviction that there is a potential in this model. And so I think your next step should be to go through a training program, full-fledged training program, level 1 training. And that's whether, you know, if you're available, we recommend you join on-site one. You know, we're going to have 2 coming in Turkey. We're going to have one after that coming in Malaysia. That's just December and January. And I think we were going to have an on-site one almost like, a few in a year, almost every other month in some places. And you can join on-site if you're close to the place that we're going to give the training. And if not, then we suggest you join our online training. And I think that will give you a very good idea that what is the model. Because we think that if we look at the teacher training as the core and the starting point of transformation. So we think that transformation has to start with the teacher. If the teacher starts to see the sign and truly internalize the model, and they become a role model for the students, and they can communicate the message to them in a way, in much better way. So we do have material like workbooks and LMS, as Usma mentioned, and that will make your job much easier. But I think if you go through the training and understand the model, that will be the starting point. That's what I will strongly recommend, to have that. And meanwhile, our LMS resources, we have some free resources. We will share the link with you. You can try with that. And once you like it, you can subscribe. Our subscription, really, we try to keep as low as $5 per month. You know, you can just get it the lowest one and just try with any subject on any grade that you like. If you have, let's say, if you're teaching and you want to just go and try those material and see whether you can use it. So feel free to go and get personally first. We have subscription for the class as well. You can, if you like later, then you can go and subscribe for your class after that. But again, we strongly recommend first that you go through the training program. And after the training, we give certain assignments. We actually do the assessments to see whether you truly comprehend the model. And then after that, we think you'll be ready to go and implement the model if you like it.
So a couple of messages of reflection, alhamdulillah. It's very nice to read that. We also have a 5D Thinking magazine. So inshallah, if you've joined the group, I'll send you the latest edition, and we have another edition coming out soon. We also have a website with quite a few free resources, different topics, which you can take a look at to understand this model more. So if we just summarize a few points, that what is unique about our model is that the very first thing is that we identify the hidden secularism, and we identify where the disconnection happened and where the misconnection has happened. And that's very important, because unless we remove that misunderstanding in our mind, then we're always in the danger of falling into, falling on the wrong path. So to stay on the straight path, it's very important that we have that clarity. And then through that clarity and through the different types of thinking, we discover Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and connect to him. And, mashallah, we've trained thousands of people over the past few years. And this is the feedback we have been getting, that they feel it has transformed them in their personal lives, in their day-to-day interactions, in things that they used to be concerned about are things that they now can manage more because they understand the connection they have with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So our model is very different from Islamizing. It's an integrative model. Through the model, we discover Allah. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran also, in many verses, He asks us to discover Him by reflecting on His signs. So this is the key point that Dr. Najati made, is that to know Allah, you need to know His creation. And we interact with that creation every day. But usually when we interact with it, we don't see it as something remarkable or something amazing. But when you go through the 5D thinking process, you start to see every single thing as remarkable, every single thing as amazing, every single thing becomes a gift, inshallah. So I strongly recommend that you do engage in our level 1 training. If any of you are teachers and you want us to speak to your management, we can have a Zoom meeting with them. That's what we've been doing previously. We follow up our sessions with having meetings with management, and through we give them an online understanding as well of a quick presentation of our model, and that leads to many more doors opening towards it. So that
I want to add 2-3 points as well. I think you summarized very well. So one things we hear a lot, that there are a lot of people working on curriculum, a lot of Islamic schools. We really see main problem that the reason we are not in a curriculum in one way, we say the curriculum in a way that you prepare food and to see how you're gonna will be on your meal. But we see the problem is with basically the material you use to make the foods. There's some poison. Unless you remove this poison, it doesn't matter how you prepare, how you basically present the food to the students. It's gonna still be very damaging. So what we do in our models, we try to, our first priority, to remove the poisonous ideology. That's materialism, that's naturalism, that's secularism. So that's the first thing we do. And the second one is, I think our model is rather than just adding some ayah to the existing secular knowledge, we essentially we try to bring the transformation in a way, kind of do surgical things that we can remove the veil and open the eyes. Because we as we read it, the Quran described those who cannot see the signs, we blind. When you're blind, that you need to go through the surgery to open your eyes. So in a way that we really are training, it become kind of surgical for many people. They really think they become eye-opening because they start to see differently. And because again, that once you remove this veil of nature, cause and chance, then you give the Quranic lens, which that you can start to see the signs of Allah in everything. And that's the reason we call it our workbooks, we call it science secrets. The secret here is the signs of Allah is actually hidden within the science. But once you have the proper lens, you can start to see them. So essentially that's what we, in a way, the training is aimed to bring this transformation, to open our eyes. And the material we provide is like the light with which that you can easily see the things, the workbooks and other material. And again, that we think the existing secular ideology-based material is very darkening. It's not easy to see the sign with them. And therefore, we need material. But what we really need first and foremost is to go through the transformation to open our eyes to see the sign of Allah. And that's what we are trying to do through the level 1 training as we work together. So again, so inshallah, if you really see there is a good potential here, so we strongly recommend you join one of those training to better understand the model.
And time is up. Jazakallah khair, everyone, for your participation, and we look forward to seeing you soon, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you very much, and inshallah, we'll meet you one day. And if you like the model, inshallah, we'll see you either online or on-site training. Assalamu alaikum.